Welcome and thank you for tuning to this edition of News and Views. Kicking things off in Anoka this month, our first guest is City Council member Jeff Weaver, and he will fill us in on the city's plans for repurposing areas of the Anoka State Hospital for veteran housing. Next up is Police Chief Phil Johansson. His topic of discussion, spring safety and what residents can expect from the upcoming season in terms of law enforcement. Moving on to Champlin, City Council member Eric Johnson is making his debut on News and Views. Eric is here to tell us about the state of Champlin and some of the developments that we can expect to see in 2015. Also making her debut on News and Views is Champlin Code Enforcement Officer Diana Jones. Diana has some amazing information and some tips for residents regarding code restrictions for the winter and the spring months. And in Andover, we are joined by Mayor Julie Trude, and Julie will give us a rundown on her State of the City's address that was given at a recent luncheon, as well as some information on the parade of homes that will take place this month. Vehicle Maintenance Supervisor John Wallace will also be joining us from Andover, and John is here to talk shop regarding snowplows and how Andover is one of the first cities to use a rear wing plow. Rounding out the show, we hop down Highway 10 to the city of Ramsey, where we will be joined by City Council member John Letourneau, who will give us an update on the state of Ramsey through the council eyes. And finally, from Ramsey's Park and Rec Department is Mark Riverblood, and Mark is here to talk about an exciting project in the works regarding the core area. All that and much more coming up right now on News and Views.
Hi, and thanks for joining us for the Anoka portion of News and Views. Again, I'm your host, Matt Overstreet, and today joining us is Anoka City Council member Jeff Weaver, and he's going to talk to us a little bit today about the old Anoka State Hospital. So thanks for joining us today, Mr. Weaver.
Thank you, Matt.
Always a pleasure to see you. This
Yes.
is, I think, a recurring appearance now.
Yes.
So can you take me through a little bit of the history of the hospital and then kind of how we got to where we are right now?
Yeah, well, the state hospital was, and if Bob Kirshner, who's our former community development director, wrote a really neat piece in the Union a year or so ago about the history of how those grounds were put together, and they were put together by, I think, one of the Woodburys, who that name rings loudly in the city of Anoka history.
Sure.
Put together this property from 4 immigrant farmers, and it encompassed an area that is pretty much north of the railroad tracks, all the way up to the Andover border. And the original history grounds, that original ground covered around 760 acres,
Really?
of which quite a bit of it was farmland. And that farmland was used to produce not only a world-class dairy operation, but it grew a lot of the foodstuffs for the state of Minnesota and all the other institutions in the state.
So essentially, did we have any of the inmates at the time that were working the farm?
I think so, and I can't say for sure, but I would think that, and I don't know if they were inmates, but I would say patients that were guests of the state hospital probably worked in the farm operations with the vegetables or the dairy. But there's some very unique history. If you walk the grounds, what's north of the railroad track, and if you go down by the river, there's a stone wall that goes almost all the way from the railroad tracks, almost all the way up to the groomed yard lawn area of the existing buildings as you see them today. If you're in the piece of ground that's between the state hospital grounds and the high school, there's some rock formations of areas that are very unique, and you have to wonder, who built this and why did you do it?
Sure.
It's very unique.
That's amazing. Beyond just keeping the lights on, I'd have to imagine, food production for all the patients, as you say, that has to be one of the biggest costs, and here they are almost completely self-sustaining with the farm, like as you say.
Absolutely. And what's very interesting about even the operation today, the city of Anoka, what we dub as the Anoka Nature Preserve, was part of that state hospital grounds farm. And some of the original farm fields today are still being farmed in the city of Anoka.
No kidding.
So it's quite unique. If you take the bike trail up along the east bank of the Rum River, all the way north of Bunker past the new Rum River Shores development, and follow it back through the woods. You'll get to an area, you'll go, where am I? and the meadow or the hayfield back there and the cornfields, it's phenomenal. There's not a sight of a house. You feel like you're in the middle of nowhere, and it's magnificent. And it's still happening in the city of Anoka.
That is so neat. Well, now that's kind of catches us up to today.
Absolutely.
Can we talk a little bit about the plans moving forward with the hospital?
Absolutely. You know, the state hospital grounds is made up of a series of cottages that are in a circular pattern, and there's some administration buildings, and also there was a pool, there was a stage, and a gymnasium that's up there. But the three buildings that are on the southwest corner of the property as you come up 4th Avenue are in serious jeopardy have been told about coming down, being taken down. Well, to the council members and the city staff of the city of Anoka, that's Anoka's history and identity.
Absolutely.
And the ownership of those buildings belongs to Anoka County. When the state ceased those operations up there of that campus, they deeded or gave those properties to the Anoka County. And Anoka County uses some of the cottages for some of their social services as we know today, but there's those first three cottages that have been sitting empty, some longer than others, some in better shape than others. And the county, in their wisdom, had decided that those buildings need to come down. Well, the city of Anoka disagreed. And the county gave the city of Anoka about a year to figure out a use. So with the collaboration of council members and our amazing staff, led by Carolyn Braun, came up with all kinds of different ideas, but the idea of veterans housing kind of rose to the top. And the reason it rose to the top is we've got the same ingredients that made the grounds down at Fort Snelling a workable project. You had history involved, you had veterans involved, and you had a fundable project. And so we went to the same folks, the city of Anoka did, to the same folks that are doing Fort Snelling and said, we have a viable project that's almost identical, and you may have buildings that are in better shape, and this was to Common Bond. And they have, I believe, over 5,000 units that they work with low income and veterans and other types of folks that have special needs. What's interesting in Anoka County, there was an awesome article yesterday in the Star Tribune, but there's over 22,000 vets in Anoka County alone. That's huge. Wow. And there's needs that are needed. You know, we'd have some that are homeless, some that are probably on fixed incomes, some that are struggling just as families. Well, with these three buildings, we've got very unique opportunities to service different needs of that veteran community, whether it's males, and there's another aspect that's not talked about much, but there are a lot of female veterans.
Sure.
And then their families, veterans with families. So we could have three different types of housing going on up there if the project comes to fruition with Common Bond and Anoka and Anoka County. Because in order for Common Bond to be able to move forward with the project, they have to have the ability to show that they're going to either own it or have a long-term lease on the property that allows them to make that capital investment.
Well, I know that we're certainly pulling for that to happen because, as you say, it seems to be a win-win, both to preserve the historic nature of Anoka, which I know is a big deal to Anokans, and also to once again go out of their way to do a wonderful thing for veterans, which I know is always something that Anoka really tries to embrace and do for it. So thank you so much for joining me today, Mr. Weaver. This is something that I think that we're going to continue to follow with great interest. Well, recently QCTV was at the Greenhaven Country Club for the Anoka Area Chamber of Commerce's State of the City's luncheon. We got to check out what goes on in the Anoka portion of that. Let's watch the video.
As usual, the annual Anoka Area Chamber of Commerce's State of the Cities event was a successful one, with Anoka bursting with development updates.
2014 I'm not going to spend too much time.
Among the highlights from 2014 were the Rum River Shores, Homestead at Anoka Phase 2, and Round Lake Commons projects, with special mention of the Mad Hatter Tea Room.
Move outside of our boundaries. We did not want that to happen. We wanted to retain the next.
Then, looking into 2015, some of the projects mentioned were the Rum River Shores North, the Gladstone Cooperative, and the Walker Plaza 2.
And Walker is interested in building Walker Plaza 2.
With so much more development planned in the coming year, the only thing that looks better than 2014 in Anoka
This is happening in our community.
is 2015.
Thank you for listening and thank you for being here.
And welcome back. You know, the State of the Cities is an amazing way for us to catch up on what's gone on in our city over the last year. Now, as we move on to the second portion of the Anoka portion of News and Views, we welcome Chief of Police Phil Johansson. Thanks for being here today, Chief Johansson.
Matt, it's my pleasure.
Now, I know that you and I had decided we might talk a little bit about some crime prevention tips. And if I'm not mistaken, it seems to be that typically in the wintertime, crime kind of slows down to a crawl. It's not quite what it is in summer. Is that correct?
Well, in general, crime does go down slightly during the winter months. Part of the reason people are outside less as a result of not being outside, there's less special events, carnivals, festivals, fairs, and then, to be frank, people consume a little less alcohol, and as a result, yeah, police calls are slower during January, February, and March. It's probably our slowest time of year. Probably the two areas that we still get, that we still have issues with, one is there's armed robberies during the winter months, and I know luckily we haven't had any here in Anoka this winter, but Coon Rapids has had a few here recently. And then the other is mental health issues. Family members will call about their loved ones, concerned about their welfare. You know
Sure.
what I mean? So we do get, there seems to be a little bump in that during the winter months.
Interesting, interesting. Well, I'm going to be a little bit of an optimist and look at the fact that we're headed towards spring. That's all I can see, spring, spring, spring. So can we look forward to then maybe a little bit of a rise in incidences?
Yeah, and in general, spring and then especially during the summer months, yes, the police department is probably busiest. And again, more people out. There's lots of special events, at the schools and the fairgrounds and downtown and all over. And so it isn't just Anoka, that's in general.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And yeah, there is an increase. And in case the public didn't know, Anoka PD, we're a busy little department. We have 27 sworn officers, and I'll just fill you in on a few of their assignments. We have 2 officers in the schools. We have 1 officer at Anoka High School, 1 officer at Anoka Middle School, and so anybody who has children at those 2 schools, if they ever have their cell phone taken or feel like the kids are getting bullied or something, they can just see the officer right there at the school. They don't have to call for an officer in a squad car. Just stop down to the office and see the officer that's assigned to that school. They're there during school days.
Sure.
We have a canine officer in one of our 27 that especially good for lost children or somebody with Alzheimer's or something like that. We've used their canine officer to help find people. We have an officer assigned to the Drug Task Force, Anoka Hennepin Drug Task Force, and they do special investigations. To be frank, trying to find people who are manufacturing and selling illegal drugs.
And from what I understand too, just to interject this, but from what I understand, there have been some major headway made there.
Yeah, there's been some, I would call them successful arrests, which took a lot of illegal drugs off the street in the last few years, and yeah, they do a very good job.
That's outstanding.
Yep, and then a lot of people don't realize that we have a security unit that does non-sworn security services at AMRTC, which is Anoka Metro Regional Treatment Center. We have 2 officers at Anoka High School, and then we have 2 officers at Anoka Tech College. So if you visit or frequent any of those places, you'll see our Anoka police squads in those parking lots, patrolling the parking lots, the hallways, things like that. And if they see things suspicious, they have direct radio contact with sworn officers that can get there quickly. So Just a little rundown on some of the services that we provide.
That's so much more than you would ever expect. You look at a small town like Anoka, and I know the last time you and I talked, when we were talking about some crime prevention tips for the winter too, and you were making me aware of some services that I didn't even know. And then today you're coming in, you're letting us know all about some places that you're at that we wouldn't normally suspect, and it's all towards the benefit of the city and ultimately the state at large, and you keep going out from there. But thank you so much for joining us today, Officer Johansson, Chief Johansson. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Coming up, we are going to look at some opportunities for continued education for adults. It's right here in Anoka County.
The Community Education Department offers learning opportunities and activities for people at all ages. We are very interested in lifelong learning, and the piece that I work with is the adult learning. There are 3 different programs that I work with. The first one is adult learning. The second one is Project Power, working with people with special needs, and then adult basic education. So with the adult learning program, many people in the community are familiar with catalogs that they get in the mail listing about 300 classes in each of those catalogs, offering all kinds of activities from learning a new skill, exploring a new hobby, fitness classes. Some of the classes even address workplace skills such as technology. So the other program I work with is Project Power, which is a program that is for adults with special needs. Last year we had 4 catalogs go out, and we had nearly 5,500 adults with special needs participate. Adult Basic Ed is the other program that I work with, and that is a program that is free to adults who are 17 years or older who are seeking to improve their job skills, to enter college, to finish their high school diploma or get a GED. So we're very proud of the work that we do. We're very proud of the work that our students do. It's very rewarding work.
Welcome to the Champlin segment of News and Views. Returning once again, I am your host, Corey Lang, and we are joined by our first guest today, and that is City Council Member Eric Johnson. How you doing, Eric?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for being here. It's your first time on the show, so we're very happy about that.
First time on the show, but I've been on council. I just got reelected to my 3rd term.
Yeah, congratulations,
So
by the way.
I've been hanging out for a little while.
You have. Yeah, and it's good to see you, and it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
So we're here to talk about the City of Champlin.
Okay.
From a City Council standpoint, can you talk about the state of the City of Champlin?
The City of Champlin is doing well. Development's picking up. Financially, the city's doing very well. We're working within our financial management plan that we as a council prepare every year, review every year, and it's a very important part of the entire process that we do. But development's going good. Finances are going decent.
That's fantastic to hear. So speaking of developments, can you talk about some of the developments residents can expect to see in the year 2015?
Sure. Actually, most recently is the Acorn Mini Storage, which I was going to say, excuse me, I was going to say that it's going to be opening soon, but on my way over here, I noticed a sign that said now open.
Oh, wow.
So the mini storage
that's
is
cool.
now open. It's
nice.
Very large facility, about 110,000 square feet of storage.
It's a beautiful building, too.
It is very nice. Some of the other things, and I got notes here just in
good.
case.
He's prepared.
I am, sometimes. Let's see, Alina's building a new clinic, actually right next door to their old clinic. That's kind of in process. It should be open, I believe, late spring, early summer of this year.
Okay.
Busy Web just moved in over by the Edina Realty building over by Broadway Pizza.
Okay.
Willie McCoy's, of course, is opened up now. There's another business in town called Little Orbits.
Okay.
People think it's a trampoline park, but there was going to be a trampoline park there. That fell through.
Okay.
And Little Orbits, my understanding is they make little donut making machines or something like that.
Oh, cool.
So like you'd see at the state fair.
Sure.
If I'm wrong on that, feel free to correct me.
Okay.
Let's see what else we got. iVillage just opened up. iVillage Games.
Okay.
Over by the Aldi's, kind of in that little strip mall.
Oh, yeah, kind of by the karate studio?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
What else? A couple other smaller places that they're opened up, ice cream shop, things like that.
Okay.
As far as the business side of things.
Sure.
Residential development, do you want to know about?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hear it.
There's going to be a place called Applewood Point, which is a senior co-op that'll open up, that'll start construction, I believe, this summer.
Okay.
Right off the river. There's a big empty lot at the end of Cartway and was that Dayton Road there?
Dayton Road, yeah.
So that'll start probably this spring, this summer.
Okay.
Trying to think what else. Oh, there's another 34 lot detached townhome community with a couple of single family homes called the Cedars of Elm Creek.
Oh,
right off
okay.
of Hayden Lake Road and Vera Street, kind of in that area as the road starts to turn to go over the new bridge. That's where that development will go.
That's where it's going to go. Okay.
Yeah. That'll be a nice community. I think that type of home I think will be in high demand.
Okay, I bet.
So
yeah, how can it not be? I mean,
yeah,
prime area for sure.
Yeah. And then next, kind of across the road from that, they're working on, what is it called? I want to get the name right.
Sure.
The Reserve at Elm Creek.
Okay.
That's about 100, 110, somewhere in that range. Single family homes, fairly high end, that they're working on. It's been a little bit delayed, but I think they'll get their pieces put together and everything and probably start moving dirt around probably this summer.
Okay.
Would be my guess.
Sure. No, that's great to hear. I mean, going back to the businesses, I mean, Willie McCoy's, we go there quite frequently. My parents go there quite frequently. It's always busy.
Well, and my wife and I have tried to go there, and every time we go, there's an hour wait, so we go someplace else. So I guess we have yet to actually eat there.
Sure, sure. Yeah, they have a great jalapeno cheese. I won't go into the whole thing, but they have a great burger. Yeah, Little Orbit's super cool to hear, and it's Cullen's ice cream, right? That's
yes.
And they only open in the summer then, or?
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know.
okay. I heard Armin say something that maybe they were closed for winter, but I wasn't sure. Yeah, that's great to hear. Village Games, we stopped in there. That's kind of the board game place, right? You can play games in there and stuff.
I have yet. I want to go in there. I have yet to get in there. So.
Sure, cool. Well, thanks for the update, Eric. It's really nice to have you on the show, and we'll keep coming to having you back, and we'll keep updating residents on what's going on. So thanks for being here.
You bet.
So now we're actually going to take a quick peek. We hooked up with Parks and Recreation Manager Charlie Lane to talk a little bit about a partnership between Willie McCoy's and Andrews Park, something that's coming this spring and summer. So let's take a look at that now. At a recent Champlin City Council meeting, the council approved plans for Willie McCoy's Restaurant and Bar to have a concession stand at Andrews Park. We had an opportunity to speak with Parks and Facilities Manager Charlie Lane, who has a few additional words on this matter.
The council, after Willie McCoy's established the restaurant here, acknowledged that we needed the food and beverage concessor out at our new picnic shelter for phase 3 of Andrews project. And after an RFP, a request for proposal, went out to 17 different vendors throughout the local area, Willie McCoy's was selected as that particular concessor for our new concession stand out at the softball complex. So we're excited about that. We're happy that we have somebody that wants to partner with us, and we're happy that we can kind of oblige and help the players have both food and beverage on site. So we're excited about that. You're going to have just a separation from the softball complex and actual park patrons that utilize the park on the west end versus the east end. There's just going to be a little bit of a boundary between where the alcoholic beverages can actually be. And that's just something that we've kind of established to kind of help people know the boundaries.
Wow, well that sure is exciting, and it's good to see what Willie McCoy's is doing over there at Andrews Park. And we want to thank Charlie Lane for helping us out with that promo. Joining us now is our second guest, and that is Code Enforcement Officer Diana Jones. How you doing, Diana?
Good, good. Nice to be here.
Yeah, thank you for being here, making your debut on News and Views, so we appreciate you coming along. So as I said, you are the Code Enforcement Officer for Champlin. So we're here to talk about code enforcement. Can you give us a little background on what you do for your job?
Sure. Code enforcement is a part of our community development department.
Okay.
And what our department does is we make sure that the ordinance that the city has are followed.
Okay.
The city has zoning ordinances, public nuisance ordinances. Essentially it's the city's Bible, if you would.
Sure.
All the rules and regulations. So that's what code enforcement does. We take those pieces of the ordinance and make sure that residents are following the rules.
Okay.
I can give you a little bit. The zoning ordinance is probably our biggest section, and that
Okay.
regulates parking, which is huge. That's always a number one complaint.
Okay.
Home-based businesses, signage, and some commercial endeavors, and that's just, you know, to name a few things.
Sure.
The public nuisance ordinance is also big with code enforcement, clearly by its title.
Sure.
Those issues range from excessive outside storage, garbage on a property,
Okay.
noxious odors or excessive noise, ice and snow on public sidewalks, abandoned furniture, household appliances, junk vehicles, building materials that are abandoned, and then property that's in violation of maintenance codes on the exterior.
Okay.
And abandoned homes.
Okay.
Okay?
Good to know.
I can tell you, really, bottom line with code enforcement, if you have a question or a concern about a property in town, you call me and we'll talk about it, we'll take a look at it, and we'll decide if there's something going on there that warrants any further action.
Okay, great. Yeah, we can throw up a little tag on screen, just kind of directing folks to either your email
How to
or
reach
phone
me.
number. So
Perfect.
Yeah, that'd be
Perfect.
great.
Yeah.
So we're still in the winter here. Is there anything before winter wraps up that folks can be aware of in regards to the winter months for code enforcement?
Well, parking is a problem year-round, so people just need to be aware that even though you have a snow-covered yard, it is not your parking lot.
Okay.
So make sure that if you're using an area that appears to be other than your driveway, that it is an approved parking surface, something that you had in place prior to snow and ice coming down. So, as we do get those complaints year-round, so that's something to certainly be aware of. And then again, you know, if that is an issue for you, make that part of your spring plan. And,
Okay.
and look at trying to make something new for parking, because everybody's got so many parking needs right now.
Sure, sure.
Let's see, garbage cans, garbage and recycling cans, pull them down to the street for pickup and then promptly pull them back up and store them. Lots of complaints on garbage cans. It may seem petty,
Sure.
but it's a huge issue. Snow plows are out on the streets when we have a lot of snow or there's ice, kids going to buses. Just visibility for vehicles, so make sure you get those pulled back away. You have just a brief window of time, get your can down for pickup and then pull it right back up same day. Maybe get a neighbor to help you out if you're out of town.
Okay.
You know, you work late, whatever, maybe someone can help you out.
Sure.
Public sidewalks that border your property, when we get an ice and snow event, even though those are public sidewalks, they are your responsibility as a homeowner and a resident. And then 48 hours after precipitation is done, you need to get those cleared so that people have access to using those public sidewalks.
Okay.
Okay? Oh, one other thing, don't push that snow in the street.
Yeah, do not do
Yeah.
that. No, that's good to know. I'm sure there's tons of residents out there that are wondering, you know, what's going on with some of that stuff. So
Right. A lot of people think public sidewalks are city responsibility, and there's certainly areas where we take care of them, but we don't take care of all of them.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. No, that's wonderful information. Just wrapping up real quickly, is there anything the residents should be aware of with the spring months coming up?
Well, take a peek at your to-do list that you had last fall that you didn't get to.
Okay.
Outside exterior maintenance, if you have property that needs painting, if anything is peeling or looking, you know, kind of sad, you want to make sure you have a good surface coat. Take a look at windows that are ground level. They really suffer, window frames really suffer with moisture damage. Rains during the year, but a lot of snow and ice, it builds up. You can get a lot of rot.
Okay.
So, you know, just some really good maintenance on those kinds of areas can save you a host of problems. It's an access point for insects. It's an access point for rodents, and certainly just the rot that can draw moisture inside. Then you have problems on the inside too. So people don't think about that, but those low level windows are a problem.
Sure.
Keep an eye on your roof. If
Okay.
shingles are starting to curl, we get high winds or we have heavy rains, you could find yourself looking at a re-roof job instead of a repair.
Okay.
The Maple Grove yard waste site's going to open April 1st. So
Oh,
if you
yeah.
have bags that you didn't get taken care of last fall, you can certainly get those over there. It's free to Champlin residents.
Okay.
And it's open through November 30th. So it's a
Oh,
big,
great.
big window of opportunity to use that site. So you can drop off things and you can also pick up compost. So take a look at their website too and get their hours and their what's available to you as a Champlin resident for free.
Okay.
Okay?
Fantastic. Yeah, we'll throw up some information on the screen there and get some of
Perfect.
those folks some of that info. And we want to thank you so much for being here and updating the residents on what to be aware of for code enforcement.
Great,
So
thank
thanks,
you.
Diana. Real quickly, we're going to actually hook up with Catherine Lenneberg, and she's going to fill us in on what QCTV has been up to lately. Let's take a look.
Welcome to QCTV. We are your source for local programming in the area that includes Anoka, Champlin, Andover, and Ramsey. Our goal is to bring you the stories about the people, places, and events in your community. If you are interested in civics, we cover over 20 government meetings a month, like city council and school board meetings. We produce a program called News and Views that features interviews with your elected officials and staff members. Our goal is to get the word out on what is happening in your city. And if you're a sports fan, we cover local sports. We are now gearing up for our spring sports, and we have a new show called In the Game, hosted by QCTV's Chris Carpenter. In this show, we bring you interviews with local athletes and coaches and students who you may not have heard of before, but we think they deserve to be featured in the community. Also this month, we continue our collaboration with the League of Women Voters, and you can see a show called Restore the Vote, Making Our Community Whole, as well as another program featuring a panel of experts who discuss water resources and how important that is for all of us. You can also watch our latest program in our Live and Local series. This one is called Live and Local, Let's Get Fit, and it features ways to get in shape. We went to the local Lifetime Fitness, the YMCA in Andover, professional karate studio in Champlin, and we did snowboarding, skiing, Zumba, and yoga. Our goal at QCTV is to bring you the stories of the people who live and work here. So we hope you enjoy our local storytelling. We welcome your ideas. Please give us a call or send us an email with your ideas. And again, welcome to QCTV. Hello and welcome to News and Views. I am Catherine Lenneberg and pleased to have as my guest the Mayor of Andover, Julie Trude. Thank you, Julie, for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Catherine. I appreciate the chance to talk about Andover.
Very good, and such a great city. And you recently did the State of the Cities address for the Anoka Area Chamber of Commerce. Tell us what your message was.
Well, everything's going great in Andover, and I really appreciated the opportunity to speak about some of the great things happening. When you look at retail, all the spaces are practically leased out. So we have Clock Tower Commons is coming in with a proposal for another strip mall right across from the community center, and it's going to have a clock on it. People keep asking. Besides retail, we had some growth in our commercial area. We have two great manufacturing facilities that both have plans for this year expansion, and one just opened the doors in December, TE Connectivity. And there was a ribbon cutting in December, and they do sensors, and it's kind of their think tank as well. So they employ engineers. They had people here from all over the world for their ribbon cutting. That's just so fabulous. And next door, DSTI, local homegrown company, and as I said at the chamber, they were doing things underground for oil drilling. Now they're going to be up in space using their rotary unions. So it's fun to see our local guys do well. They all grew up in the community. The guys, the principals behind that. So the State of the City is going great with economic development, and of course housing is huge in Andover bedroom community. We approved 7 plats last year. It had been slow for 5-6 years, so now housing's back. There were very few lots for people that wanted to build a home, for example, near the Wire in the Andover High School attendance area, and now there's many choice lots. And I think, that's something I want to talk to you about a little bit is 7 new developments, and I brought my Parade of Homes book because starting this weekend and all through March, you can pick one of these up at the homes or the holiday gas stations have these. There's 6 homes in Andover featured in the parade. So if you're driving around and you see one of the signs, just go check it out. See what's happening that's new. And it helps people who have an existing home think about how they might want to improve their home if they're thinking of remodeling, or if they are outgrowing their home, they can look at what they can move into. And mostly 2-story featured. We're really big with young growing families, but another whole segment of our city now, as I ran into door knocking, is people like myself, we raised our kids in Andover, loved it, don't want to leave. And they want to downsize or get into one level. Fortunately, I built a one level, so my husband and I are very content, but there are people looking for wider lots to build the one level. And Carson Ridge is a development offering that, and then we have something going through approvals in the Country Oaks North area that has association maintained homes, and they will offer 1- and 2-story plans. So a little bit of things, a little bit of option for everybody, but again, focused pretty much on growing families, I would say.
Very good. Now tell us about the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast that will happen in March. What's that about?
Well, every year, right about March, April, we have a Mayor's Prayer Breakfast to raise funds for Youth First, and it's also kind of a showcase. And it rotates amongst Andover, Ramsey, and Anoka, and we usually have it in a church or a facility that can accommodate probably 150, 200 people. And I would say it's a mix of fundraising, a little bit of prayer breakfast, and kind of a networking event, but it allows them to tell the community, the broader community, what does Youth First do? And they've raised substantial funds at this. So it'll be my first opportunity to work with Sarah Stroman, the mayor of Ramsey, and then Phil Rice, the mayor of Anoka, on the stage a little bit with the mayor's proclamation. So that will be kind of a fun opportunity as well. And I've always supported Youth First, attended all their fundraisers and events, because it helps our children who don't have the network maybe at home or the resources to help them be successful. And the stories that have come out of it are all very positive. So
very good.
Looking ahead to that.
Good. Now, how about Kelsey Round Lake Park, the task force that's going to be set up? What's that about?
Well, the Parks Commission has a capital improvement plan that set aside funds for a master plan for Kelsey Round Lake Park. And the council saw the request for proposal come back, and it seemed pretty broad, and it needed a little bit of fine tuning. And so when the council met with the Parks Commission, we agreed to appoint a small group of people to a task force to kind of fine tune that, because Kelsey Round Lake Park is a natural park with trails, but it has a lot of land. People are wondering, can you get more trails into the neighborhoods or near the lake? And the lake topography is very unusual. It's almost like a large wetland. It's not like Lake Calhoun, for example. It's a little bit more of a marshy lake. So this group will help fine tune the proposal. It'll go out for requests for proposals. Someone will come back and we'll hire somebody to develop a master plan. They'll take us through the next couple of decades perhaps on how can we utilize the park. And of course, a really important part of all this will be getting neighborhood input. We always do that. So people who might be listening to this and are a little bit concerned or alarmed, we will be sending out postcards or letters inviting people, and that will be something we'll request of the person who's successful in winning the proposal as well, is do some stakeholder meetings.
Very good. Thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it. We're glad Andover is in such good shape. And now we would like to tell you all about Recycle Day and Arbor Day, which is coming up very soon. Let's take a look.
I'm here today to talk about our Arbor Day event coming up in late April. Actually, it's on April 25th, called Tree Time. It's on the same day as Andover Recycling Day. Saturday, April 25th, from 9 to 1, handing out free seedlings. We will be have master gardeners on hand to help answer any questions people may have on natural resources or forestry or lawn care, landscaping, that type of thing. You can get in a drawing to win a free larger tree, so it'll be a fun day, always a good time. And our tree seedlings species we will be handing out this year include white spruce, white pine, red pine, white oak, silver maple, and red osier dogwood. So we have 6 different choices. Hopefully it's a nice day, and we look forward to seeing you out there.
Our next big event is April 25th from 9 to 1, which is our Spring Recycling Day. We're still collecting your electronics, televisions, all the different electronics, plus furniture this year. Also, the Vietnam vets will be here for your clothing items and all your knickknacks, toys. They will be collecting that for donation. Anyone is welcome to come to Recycling Day. Any Anoka County resident is welcome to come to Recycling Day, April 25th from 9 to 1.
Welcome back to News and Views. Thanks for joining us. It's kind of neat that Arbor Day and Recycle Day are on the same day this year in Andover. Both Cameron and Cindy they're so enthusiastic they make it easy. And joining me now is Andover's Vehicle Maintenance Supervisor, John Wallace. Thank you, John, for being with us here today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now tell me a little bit about yourself and your job. What do you do for the City of Andover?
I'm in charge of the Vehicle Maintenance Department for the City of Andover. I've been there 22 years now. I've got 3 other employees that work for us there in the City of Andover, and some of the greatest people that really work there.
Okay, and one of the big things this time of year is snow plowing. And so what kind of year has it been for you this year for snow plowing?
Compared to last year was a little bit stressful and everything else with all the snow. This year's been a lot less. There's still maintenance that needs to get done and things like that, but it has definitely been it's a lot less.
Okay. Now we were talking before we started here about the rear wing plow. And can you tell our viewers a little bit about that?
Back in 1993 when I started working for the city, the superintendent was Frank Stone, and we had gotten our first underbody scraper. It's a scraper that's mounted midway, halfway down the truck. It's for clearing the roads after things have been packed down a little bit. We were looking at that, and Frank and the street supervisor at that time, Ray Sawada, said, can we make this better? How can we make this better? And the price of fuel and everything else was relatively cheaper, but said, yeah, we can talk to some people. And let's see about putting the wing, which was at the very front of the truck, putting that behind the scraper. So as the scraper goes down the street, it scrapes it off, then the wing could put it to the side of the road. We talked to a couple of manufacturers and our distributor that we were buying some trucks from, and they said, yeah, we think we can do that.
So you did that, and you're one of the first cities who did that.
There were other people that had tried it, but we were the ones that were credited with really taking it forward. And as of right now, that rear wing discharge setup at one of the people that we buy trucks from takes up 90 to 95% of all the trucks that they build now have got that same design.
Okay, very good. And you actually drive snowplows yourself?
Yes.
Yes, you do. And do you enjoy doing that?
I don't drive it unless there's a problem.
Okay.
If there's another. My 2 mechanics, Scott and Eric, they do drive on a regular basis. I usually, when those guys are all driving, my job is to stay in the shop and I fix things as they break down.
Okay, and how many vehicles do you maintain for the city?
Motorized vehicles, we have 327, non-motorized 270 some. About finances said that it's just over $11 million.
Okay, what are the biggest challenges during your day and during a snowy season?
Keeping everything on the road, making sure that everything is running and working well. The cold weather can be a little tougher on some like the fire apparatus equipment like that, things freeze and things like that. Keeping up on our training as new employees coming or as new equipment comes in, trying to keep everybody on top of that training and what works. And then also getting feedback from them as equipment is starting to wear out, putting it into capital improvement funds, into our CIP we call it, getting those things, what's going to work well for the city down the road. Now, not just 2 years, but 5, 10 years down the road.
Mm-hmm. Very good. And what kind of things do you do in the warmer months?
Lawnmower, Parks Department is a lot of big things in the summertime for us. And then we start bringing in all of our bigger, heavy trucks. They all come back in, and we got to start going through them bumper to bumper, basically, making sure that they're ready to go. In the wintertime, we got street sweepers that we start bringing in, pothole patchers and those things. So as the spring is coming, you're working on stuff that's going to be used in the fall, winter, and as spring is, and then just the opposite takes true.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. It's really interesting. You have a good job, and you're obviously very enthusiastic about it. So thank you so much. Now, Leslie got a chance to go over to the Public Works Department, so let's take a look at her video.
If the city owns it, we work on it. My job, because I'm a mechanic, I've always been a mechanic, working at the city I get a huge amount of variety. Every day is different. In the fall of the year, we pretty much service all of our large equipment before all the iron's put on, because once all the wings and underbodies and front plows, it just makes it difficult to work on the truck, so we really don't want to work on it unless we have to. Then like throughout the winter, we kind of work on the equipment that they'll be looking for in the springtime, which would be mowers, street sweepers, sewer trucks. And then when it comes to summer, first thing we do is we go through the whole fleet for the fire department. So every season has something different. So pretty much after the snow event, when they're done, they bring them back in here. The next day they're going to wash the trucks if they don't have to go back out. So they thoroughly clean them from top to bottom. Then they can report to us as the shop as if they had any issues or any problems, because that's pretty much when you're going to see it. Because you know, it's hard when the trucks come in and they're full of all sorts of slush and frozen. You really can't detect if you have a problem. So you usually find that the next day. And if it's nothing too serious, so they go back out again. If it is serious, we take care of it right now. But the guys do an excellent job of maintaining their truck. They do take pride in what they have. They do a nice job with their routes. It's nice. It makes our job a whole lot easier.
Hi, I'm Noah Johnson, and welcome to the Ramsey segment of News and Views. My first guest on this segment is Mark Riverblood, who is the Park Superintendent with the City of Ramsey. Mark, thanks for joining me.
Yes, we're really excited about the pedestrian bridge that is entitled the Mississippi Skyway, and this project would connect those on both sides of Highway 10 via this one project, which is essentially, an extension of the Skyway that connects our parking ramp and transit facility to the North Star rail station.
Okay. So, where are you in the process right now?
Yeah, indeed. Again, the project has been in the Parks Capital Improvement Program for many years, but most recently, that is May of 2014, we received $490,000 for the project from the National Park Service. So that has really kick-started our application and alignment of federal funding for what is clearly a regional project. That is, the project connects all kinds of regional facilities, certainly our parks and trails in the city on both sides of Highway 10, but the Mississippi River Trail, which is a regional project, the North Star Rail Station, which is regional in nature, and of course, Mississippi West Regional Park on the south side of Highway 10 on the Mississippi River.
Excellent. So, so if your grant should be approved, what kind of timeline are you guys looking at for completing this project?
Yeah, good question. We're projecting that it could break ground as soon as 2017, perhaps 2018. Depends on funding. And so we have up to 5 years to spend that $490,000. So we have that timeline to secure the additional funding. And we have a grant application in for federal funding right now, funding that is only applicable to National Park Service units. And of course, this connects to the Mississippi River National Recreation Area, which includes Mississippi West Regional Park.
Okay, so I've been in the Corps a lot of times, and it is kind of a hassle if you want to get over to the other side of Highway 10. So if this project should go through, I think it'll be a great addition to that area, and I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yes, in fact, we've done the calculations, and if you're in the Corps, it would take you about 35 minutes just to walk from the center area of the Corps down to one of those intersections, cross, and then get to the other side of the highway. So this really short circuits that, and then in the future, it'll prevent people from the temptation of cutting across the highway, which of course would be very hazardous.
Sure. So what other projects do you have in relation to the Skyway project?
Good question again. One that will be paved right away in the spring will be the Mississippi River Trail on both sides of Riverdale Drive. So that's right at the touchdown of the Skyway. So a very related project and part of that larger system of regional trails, parks, and the pedestrian bridge. So the pedestrian bridge becomes the nexus of all these regional improvements. So we're excited about that one as well.
Excellent. Well, this sounds like a great project, and I've actually worked with you a little bit on it and got a lot of information about it. So I want to thank you again for joining me, and good luck with the future on this project. And I actually worked with Mark on an informational video on this project, so let's take a look at that now.
Hi, I'm Mark, and we're at the northern boundary of the Mississippi National River and Recreation Area, or National Park, known as the MISS. Beside me is the Mississippi River Regional Trail that'll be paved this spring. Did you know the Mississippi River Trail is 3,000 miles long, 10 states, from the headwaters at Lake Itasca Park in Minnesota to New Orleans? recreational bikers like me travel great distances and are an important part of the economy. However, we need access to services like restrooms and retailers, safe ways to places like that.
Hi, my name is Winter, and I've just arrived on the North Star from the Twin Cities, and I'd like to visit the national park that is right over there. Wow, wouldn't it be great if there were a bridge to connect all these people, places, and trails to the Mississippi? I wonder what that would be like.
Thanks for helping to make our multimodal vision a reality.
And thank you for connecting parks, people, and places to the Mississippi.
That Skyway project really is a cool thing, and that'll be a great addition to the core area in Ramsey. So joining me now is City Council member John Letourneau. John, thanks for joining me.
Oh, it's great to be back. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. Yeah, it's good to have you back. So let's jump right in. There's a lot of things going on in Ramsey. So from the council perspective, we're going to talk about a couple different things. The first thing we're going to talk about is the citizen survey results. Could you give us a little info on that?
Sure. This was a great opportunity for us to do something different, to listen to the community a little bit from a different perspective. We've never really done a statistically significant survey to the community before, and so this is a kind of a cool tool for us to be able to depend on. So we completed the survey last year, and I think we gathered about 450 responses sort of randomly from the community, people that participated, and found some really cool things. Ultimately, what we discovered, to our benefit, is that we are being viewed as a very livable city. That the people that live in our community are generally pleased with what's occurring and how they view the experience of living there. But one of the things that I thought was interesting as a result of some of the questions that we asked is we asked the citizens to rank 8 categories of livability and identify which ones they thought were the most significant for them. And around that, we're able to kind of make some plans moving forward. So the 2 things that showed up to be relatively significant and important to our residents is safety and the economy. And so, you know, we're pleased to know that our police department and our fire provide that high level of safety that's important. And then we also know that the work that we're doing as a council around how to build a robust economy and make Ramsey a better place to live from tax base is an important way for us to focus. And so overall, what we've learned from the survey are just some really interesting things about how we can interact with the rest of our community. We're really extremely interested in a transparent government system, one that is collaborative and makes sure that we're representing the voice of all the residents of the community.
Right.
And so this is showing up as being a really interesting piece of what we've learned from the survey. And again, what we've decided or what we're trying to do moving forward now is to take that information and learn how to apply the decisions that we're making and the planning that we're making to accommodate the needs of our entire community, not just maybe one segment of it or one area.
Right.
So it's been a great tool for us.
Excellent.
Again, I want to encourage everybody to take a look at the citizen survey. It is posted online. It also is in the most current version of the Ramsey Resident. And there's some good information in there. I think it's a great place for people to learn a little bit more about what's happening, again, with our community.
Well, it's great to get some positive feedback. It probably makes you guys feel good as a council to know what people think of you.
Yeah, it's very helpful. Even on the things that, you know, maybe that they rated us a little bit lower, or they rated the community a little bit lower, it gives us that information so that we can actually focus on things that are more important that we need to build on.
That's great, great. So I know that you are involved in the development decisions in Ramsey. Let's get an update on some things that are coming up in this upcoming construction season.
Well, certainly, I guess from our perspective, we feel like there's a lot of activity that's occurring in the city of Ramsey, and we just, all of us are anxious and excited to some degree. I think everyone as a resident would love to see more and more things happen, and so we're always sort of on deck and measuring our success based on what's coming out of the ground and how dirt is being moved, and so. It feels like that there's a lot of good momentum around that, and so there are a number of projects that are occurring right now and or are on deck to start this season. Many of them are housing-related projects, and so I have a couple of them here. We have a Parkview East, which is proposed 120-unit apartment building, that's awesome. We have the Casey's General Store, which is going to be part of the core development, and that's going to be a new retail. Also, there's some discussion about maybe McDonald's is going to break ground this season. There was some thought that maybe they would wait until after the interchange was put in, and it sounds like they maybe move that up a little bit for us, which is cool.
Excellent.
Country Club Hills is another one of the housing projects. It's 85 lots that are dedicated to single family. We also have the Stony River 72-unit assisted living community as part of Lord of Life that actually is open now. I believe they are now having residents, or they're very close to having residents move in, and that's
great.
So exciting. That one's been on deck for a long time and had been in construction for a number of months, so it's cool to see that. We also have the City Council approved the construction of Fire Station number 2, which is going to be over on Alpine Drive and off of 47, just to the west of 47. So that'll be part of the construction season for this year. And then finally, another 66 new family homes being reviewed and 14 home permits so far this year in 2015. So quite a bit of activity that's occurring, and we're excited about that. And then, finally, ultimately, the construction of the Armstrong Overpass is going to be occurring this year, and we're excited. Maybe the new news on this one, because there's a lot of information that's coming forward on it, but the new news on this one that we're hearing is that construction is scheduled to begin the 1st of May.
Excellent.
And we're gonna round that out, and it is scheduled again, if everything goes well, to be completed in one construction season. So we'll be actually driving on a new overpass as early as the middle of November.
Excellent. That is exciting.
Yeah, very exciting.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of News and Views, and we invite you to check out all our local programming right here on QCTV.org. Again, thanks for watching QCTV.